Let's talk about both of these squads, starting with Virtus.pro, the runner-up from stage 3, if I remember correctly, question mark. No one fact check. Okay, well, everything's good, everything's good.
Yeah, they did get second place, actually. They did.
They did. So that is runner-up.
Yeah, because they got beat by Vistola's D.Va. Yeah, they tried to play double flex support, didn't work out.
So first you act like you don't remember, and then
if you ain't first,
it took me a while.
You're last.
I'm 29. My brain takes a couple seconds.
I'm 36. What are you even saying?
Well, at least I had an answer. Jake is the young guy on the desk.
Like,
so
I just play games, dog. Like, I don't.
Yeah, but VP, obviously, former OWCS. The only really change they made from stage 3 to stage 4 was, of course, something in the coaching lineup. Smash has joined them, then left them, then joined them again.
That's low-key huge, actually.
That's actually pretty big.
Smash just kind of goes
to it. Coach.
But this lineup we're seeing right here, this is what we saw them play in the group stage, because obviously that's the highlight on the screen. But they do sometimes sub in Gala to play the Illari. Usually they have Canale play the Brigitte, but flexes over to the Juno to free up Gala to play the Illari at some of these spots. But most notably as well, they like playing the Sauna Tracer as well. And that is something we saw from them in the group stage. That was a couple of weeks ago, so the meta might have shifted a little bit. But they bring a little bit of a different style from what we've seen from the other teams so far.
And speaking of different styles, Spacestation Gaming made quite a big change that I don't think too many people saw coming. KSA has joined their roster, and quite frankly, he slotted in seamlessly. What we've seen from him yesterday, he's added a lot to that roster, a lot of great flexibility. We still got to see some Hardy action as well, of course, because it wouldn't be Spacestation if Hardy isn't in the lineup. And he's going to be on the starting 6 as well today, or rather 5. I'm living in the past.
I mean, this is just such a solid team. I think a couple things this meta have been great for them. Number one, picking up KSA is huge. I mean, it was great to talk to him in the interview yesterday because he just seems like a humble guy, exactly as a coach, like the type of guy I would want in my team. You know, somebody who bring that stability, that good energy as a tank, and the leadership, the communication necessary to succeed. But another fact of the patch I think is great for them is this swap where Funny Astro in the past patch was playing a lot of Brig, and I just don't think Brig is like his best hero. He's fine on the Brig, he's solid, but I think, you know, Funny Astro on the Juno actually just fits so much better for his skill, his high aim skill, and his ability to utilize those highly mobile heroes to great effect. Landon has the flexibility to play Brig, has experience on the hero too, so I think their support lineup actually looks a lot more solid in this meta than it has in the past. I think it's a comfortable one for them. So I think SSG looks really good this meta, and they've made the Mei work maybe better than anyone else so far in EU.
Yeah, I mean, shocker, SSG playing Mei. What? Backbone eating out there. SSG, look, they've been the favorite in almost every single match they've played thus far the entire season. If we're looking at our predictions, even though it's VP and I put a lot of stock in that match, or rather in that team, I have to give the edge to SSG. I do think it might be a close one because SSG, I've only seen them once with KSA in the roster. I don't know. Is it always that seamless? Is the synergy always there, or are there still some hiccups that need to iron out? We don't know yet. But for now, SSG is the one I picked as the winner.
I liked what we saw from SSG, frankly. I think, like, same way that adding Psycho to this team really opened up possibilities for them as far as the dive, the high mobility comps. I think KSA continues to expand what's possible for this squad, and they've already had great results with, like, the original group of players that we know and love. But I think adding these players tactically inserted into the roster by Christopher has looked really good. It's made them, I think, a much more difficult opponent to prepare for because there aren't these, like, trump card map picks. You can say, well, okay, we're going to take you here. We're going to force Hadi to play D.Va. We know that's not his comfort. With KSA in the lineup, they have answers for everything now. I think they can kind of field any comp, any strategy they want to play. Right now, it's more of a classic rush they feel good about, but it's been good for Spacestation. I think they're going to be a strong team this tournament.
I think it's going to be a close matchup. I predicted Virtus.pro 3-2 based purely on vibes. You know,
I love a good vibe pick.
We didn't see their match on the broadcast yesterday, but we have an idea what they're playing from groups. I just wanted to go with VP here because I want to give them some credit here. You know, usually we just predict SSG on this desk. I think we probably predicted SSG more than any other team in EMEA throughout the entire year. So I wanted to shake things up. Let's go, VP. Bring out the Illari. Have some fun.
And honestly, now that I think about it, I think it makes a lot of sense. Like, VP, they play these slower, greedier comps, double flex support, some Pharah. That could play well against Space Station's passive brawl style. It can be hard to play into an overwhelming amount of poke damage.
Yeah, I feel like we might see the May Cassidy come out maybe from SSG.
Yeah, but I think it could be hard against Illari.
Community, come on.
I mean, all right, SSG has like consistently won this matchup, and they've only looked better.
Virtus.pro, they're good enough to give at least 20%.
Yeah, I would say, I don't think this is an 80-20 match. This is like a 60-40, 70-30 match for me.
I'd say 70-30, yeah. But I'll stand with the 30. Let's go, VP.
Numbers, let's go, VP. Obviously, Johnny, huge VP fan.
Huge vibes guy.
Mega vibes guy. What about our casters? Matt, Mitch, how do you see this one shake out? Do you think 17% is fair?
Yeah, I'm more of like a memory guy. Like,
I love memory.
Thinking back to when VP
Memory
beat
guy.
this team 3-0 in the lower bracket finals in Stage 3. Also recency bias because they didn't have Shockwave for Face It Master Season 3. Also, they've also changed up who's playing Juno on this team, and Rajaro also has improved a lot on Arisa. I think VP are going to win this game. I don't know what happened. I don't know why we're so SSG pilled today. It's interesting.
I mean, no SSG, obviously, off of historical performances, you'd say would be the favorite.
They lost twice to VP in Stage 3.
Like that.
They lost twice. They lost in the upper bracket and the lower bracket. They lost twice.
Right, but we have a long season, a long history, right? No, not just Stage 3. But I mean, VP, I do think gets a little bit undercredited, right? I know VP, I think, is clearly the third best team in EMEA, right?
Yeah, clearly top
clearly
three.
in the top 3.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, in the top 3, right? I think depending on the meta, could push 2, right? Depending on how things go. So I think probably from a fan perspective, I mean, look, the fans, they're gonna vote. They love Spacestation gaming, right? They love all the players in this team, so that's not surprising.
I love them too. I do. They're obviously fantastic. Virtus.pro, I think like so much conversation is always around like their backline, because Gala and Canale both really talented, but kind of have just very specific hero pools as support players. So there was like, some decision making between like which one of them was playing Juno, like I mentioned earlier. This is what they've settled on. So Canale on the Brig, Gala on the Juno. Shockwave though.
Oh, well, he's
back. We have a Malga come from space.
Malga. A Malga sighting here.
Okay, so this was one of their best comps, right? During that Malga era, they really tried to run this back into a lot of setups here. They felt like it was powerful, but they do have to play this against a Pharah.
Yeah, and I mean, you're going to lose Sparker right away. The cardiac overdrive doesn't really help much of anybody there as they end up losing this first fight. So we'll see if they decide to roll out on the Malga yet again. But an interesting look thus far.
17% of you voted for VP. That's kind of wild. Yeah, look, Malga has some pretty pronounced weaknesses, I think. Backbone is also choosing to play Sim here. So there's no static shield in the front line necessarily for Backbone, which means that playing against the Pharah is quite challenging, right? You can't really mitigate a lot of that damage coming your way outside of TPing and staying out of those lines of sight. That's why they're going White Rune here. But also, you have Shockwave who can throw dynamites down this straight away, and also Sauna who can bombard it. So it's tough. Rajaro, though, taking a bunch of damage on the approach, though. And here's that orbital ray now for Funny Astro. He's built that very, very quickly on account of the fact that his front line's been getting folded in half. But it's going to be Canale to fall first. Spark is able to find purchase finally with the Peacekeeper. Sauna here is actually looking to chase Sparker down, and was a barrage fired off after the fact. So 1-for-1. Cassidy no longer a factor here, and Backbone needs to TP to actually be relevant in this fight. He's stuck in the dojo. TP thrown to point, but Sauna is ready for it. Blows it up instantly.
Yeah, now the Bob on the point here for Shockwave, just kind of keeping it contested as it'll be a terror surge from Rajaro. Does not catch anybody in it as the point does flip to SSG.
Yeah, ratting for Canale. What a great timing for that to come up here. Cage fight is fine. But again, Spacestation don't have the mechanism to follow up with it. Maybe, I guess you could play a Genji Venture here as well, to try and maybe work with this all-in sort of capacity of Hardy. I'm personally looking at this at the outset, wondering what Malga is really trying to do here, because he can't stomp on the Orisa. She is fortified.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And also, I mean, the dynamite plus the Pharah, right? Cardiac overdrive very good, but still, it's a lot to try and kind of heal up and power through as they get an early pickoff yet again. So early in these fights, they've had some success with this comp. It just seems like the longer the fight goes, they just kind of fall off.
Is the idea here trying to get a nice team cardiac overdrive effect so that everyone gets even more healing on top of what Funny Astro can do? Obviously this team wants to play together inside Orbital Ray here as well, so there's a lot of AoE healing just kind of at face available to you.
You're never going to be that disappointed in getting an even bigger cardiac overdrive, right? It's just going to be very difficult and costly in terms of HP to close the gap. This will be Orbital Strike here from both teams, Orbital Ray from both teams, as it'll be VP making their way, taking the point. They have this barrage. Got to be careful here for the entry for Spacestation.
Sauna though is going to get hindered immediately. Spark is able to find that Pharah. It's not exactly subtle, I think, from Virtus.pro there. maybe a little bit of a stumble in this fight. They orbit array in the direction of the point, but because Backbone is either playing on the point or in the dojo and never out in the open, it's kind of hard to know where Spacestation looking to fight you.
Yeah, no, I mean, we haven't seen this type of comp in a while here, right? I know with Maga in the mix, but hey, Juno's extremely strong, right, in terms of the support she can provide, and Maga, I mean, I feel like for most of the year has been meta with how things have gone, right? They try to adjust them over time. I mean, you also think like the Oral Rain plus the cage fight could be crazy.
All right, here's that sim wall. It's Hardy push up past it. Virtus.pro have to wait this out, but they're running out of time. Spacestation have now gotten into the lead, and a cage fight's going to keep them here by the bridge. Not much Rajaro can do. Does go for their Terra Surge at the least. Pushes up now. Bob's going to get onto the point. Kero Shockwave. Landon actually uses his stun off the shield bash to knock it down. And Canale has fallen here. Virtus.pro are in complete disarray. And it makes me wonder how much of this Malga comp they've seen, Matt, because they seem a little unsure about how to play around it.
Oh, no, absolutely. I definitely think it's kind of thrown them for a little bit of a loop here. As Rajaro coming back off a spawn on the Doom, not able to make it through the windows, so it'll be SSG coming back in round number 1. We'll see how much longer they decide to run this as well. I know if this is just maybe it's a Lijiang Tower type of setup, then they kind of move things around, or if it's something they want to run pretty consistent throughout the whole series.
It's so interesting. I mean, it's not unlike Spacestation to play sim comps, but Backbone had to play in such a different way as you normally would if you had like a Reinhardt or something like that. I dig it. It works for me, and it's not as if like the Malga was lacking mobility anyway. Like he could just dash and stomp in, but Spacestation are now going to switch back to something a little more standard here. How much of the Backbone fire do you think we've seen? Yeah, not a lot.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say not a lot. Is see SSG. Okay, so they'll play May, so they're gonna probably, you would have said like if you keep the kind of sim in, TP the point, play from there, but looks like gonna take some opportunity to poke down with this Ashe at range. See, Sparker can maybe find an angle here on Sauna.
I mean, the Backbone May is amazing. It kills Faras, it kills Traces, it kills Ashes, whatever you need it to. I'm in this guy's hands. I really don't care where he plays May, frankly. This is also a team that plays May on Gibraltar, as we've seen in the past. And I mean, Backbone pretty incredible at knowing how to get value out of it. But a quick little caster curse sees Virtus.pro get ahead. May does still struggle, of course, against the longer range of Ashe.
Yeah, they had lost Landon earlier in the fight, I believe, to a rocket from Sauna, and then it looked like Backbone potentially just pushing up there, trying to see if he can make anything happen. Is that Backbone will go over to the Venture. Okay. So another different setup here from SSG. They're trying a lot today.
Backbone wants to play, in this side room here and then burrow to cross the expanse, which is fine. I mean, Sauna doesn't really have many opportunities to interact or encounter that Venture anyway. Backbone, pain in the bum. Pretty annoying stuff there. Those shots coming in onto Rajaro. Testing the healing sorely. Sauna tries to double jump away from it. Backbone actually gets out the safety. Spots Sauna. Again, not a great matchup for the Venture out in the open.
No.
It's seen better.
Terrible matchup.
Shockwave, though, goes down. Eventually, Backbone finds one. It's going to be the Ashe. That's great pickup. And then looks to join the rest of their team. You can see him burrowing across the map now. Little Rek'Sai in Overwatch form, but Landon falls again. Sometimes the Brig's randomly going to die. That's just part of these all-in team fights. They often are the target. And he who spears last laughs loudest, apparently. Hardy falling to Rajaro, even though Canale did perish within the Terra Surge off Spacestation.
Yeah, but can SSG even get close to the point? Okay, so Backbone will be able to make it here, though.
I'm going to assume that was intentional, and we're going to move on like nothing happened.
Yeah, no, it very well could be. Sauna's maybe intentional as well.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, Chief. I can accept it for the Venture, but I don't know about this one. Okay, well, your Farah, who has wings, has crashed. Not great. Rajaro as well gets run down there by Sparker. Not much Shockwave can do about Javelin Spin. That will also force him over the edge. Okay. All right, we're base jumping today.
I mean, he coach gunned up, and then I think he actually probably could have made it back, but realized that this was a losing fight. So it's Spacestation able to get aggressive. They go in, flip the point, and realize that far damage actually isn't there. Sauna now switches over to Genji here, so gonna ditch the far completely. You do have the Bob. That's the one thing that I thought maybe you could have saw from VP, right? Use the Bob early on in that previous fight to contest. Would have got you to 99, right? Maybe you end up lasting a little bit longer in that fight with SSG.
Losing Hardy there meant Space Station actually had to pull off the point and play out in the open at the start. Doesn't really have a material impact on the way the game goes, just interesting. Backbone dashed back to the point. Tectonic Shock here, really just a warning signal to Virtus.pro not to come in, but they have an orbital ray. They're going to do as they please. Funny Astro is getting close to his, and Sauna, yet predictably, wants to try and tangle with the brick here, but hard to juicy a target. Backbone is low, trying to limp away from the point, and eventually falls. Clobbered, absolutely clobbered does Sauna. Get his land and hits him with that shield bash stun. One of the best, I think, in this region of getting big value stuns off the brick, even if it's against a Bob like we saw on Garden. Terror Surge there for Hardy. Able to clear a bit of space around him now, but Rajaro is healed up somewhat and ready to return to the fray. Sparker, though, now in a later fight could be quite dangerous. Keep an eye on that opening that Rajaro is looking towards. That's where much of the damage coming from Space Station will originate from. But Hardy's got no healing, isolated, and Bob comes in too late to save him.
Yeah, but it's still SSG being able to get control of the point. Backbone now on May, right? So a few different heroes. That's a huge kill, though. That you get Canals, not going to have some of that big healing of the brig inside this point.
I don't think Space Station can do much about this, though. They're going to be forced away. Sauna's Blade, actually, that's a Rhine. That's a wild Rhine in the wilderness. Yeah, Sauna's Blade doesn't do much there. It comes out at the end of the fight, and Space Station can't really touch with this Rhine.
Yeah, no, not able to get back and get a touch is a lot of just changes there from SSG. No, I think the Rhine at the end is probably just maybe a little bit of mobility getting back towards the point. Would you be surprised if they ran it here, though? Not at all. Not really. I mean, this is a really good Reinhardt point.
This is the kind of map where like the sim looks pretty good as well. Paired up with the Rhine, great places to set up big car washes. Also, Orisa very reasonable. I guess if we must, we can go back to that setup. Yeah, the May here for Backbone. Feel pretty good about that. Shockwave on the Cassidy now. Sauna likely will be switching. Probably Farah as well. Still have to respect that Ashe play, though. Can play the Ganjo. That's fine, too.
the Ganjo. That's a new one.
That's an old meme. It's like Derpy Genji. Yeah, Ganjo.
Nice dynamite connection there, off the rip there from Sparker, putting some damage down on Rajaro as the VP's gotten control over this side of the map. So see how SSG pushes up into them. Oh, Maywall doesn't actually catch the Orisa.
The Backbone here, yeah, caught a little bit out in the open as Hardy sort of fell back behind him. Has to ice block there, but that's back in 6 seconds, no dramas. Rajaro can't get away! Perched up on top of the wall. Has to try and use that Fortify to back up, but yes, that's the May really showing her power here.
Yeah, it doesn't actually kind of completely ice wall off Rajaro. There's still like a little bit of a sliver of space inside that wall, but not enough for him to get away, and that's enough. I mean, that's like the power of the mate, right? Just separating one player, everybody focus firing that player regardless of who it is, resulting in a early and easy advantage for your team.
Speed here through the hyper ring now, of course, that orbital ray gets them there. Shockwave, okay, misses a couple of those shots, but the grenade on the Backbone gets the job done, and Funny Astro lets the ray himself go, but you can see that Virtus.pro, as the ones that are pushing up, make it happen. In fights when you both get orbital ray, you want to be the team with priority. You want to be the team pushing in, not trying to disengage or getting run over.
Yeah, no, just really nice shots from Shockwave as now it'll be VP getting in control again, pushing up a little bit closer here towards the SSG spawn door. Is Blizzard available? Deadeye here, just kind of probably used to zone, scare people off, so this will be the Deadeye here. Just trying to keep Rajaro alive, potentially.
Yeah, they got him out. Rajaro having to use all his cooldowns, though, doesn't have them up right now. And you'll see that's a problem here. Okay, well, free Fortify. Anybody? Backbone has a Blizzard here now. Knows that there's probably not a lot of Fortify left for Rajaro after this. So it might be an opening to make use of that ultimate now. Canal, though, has a rally. Yep, there's that Blizzard. Canal frozen stiff. Popped up there like a nice sculpture and will be brought down.
And because you end up getting them to use that rally with the Blizzard, Landon never actually feels like, and everybody gets low for VP, Landon actually never feels like he needs to actually use the rally here for SSG, so you're able to hold on to it for this blade that'll come through from Sauna, which is quite massive.
That is huge. Especially against this blade from Sauna. I don't know what you're supposed to do with this. Can he catch Funny Astro floating in the air? the healing per second is just too good from that orbital ray. Okay, yep, there's the bash. Man, Landon's so good at Brig. My God. Okay, Sparker, though, still under a decent amount of pressure. Eventually, Virtus.pro could push in onto him, but they don't flip the point here. And they're unlikely to win the fight, despite getting Funny Astro there. They're very out of position.
Yes, now just probably one more good fight here, maybe two here for VP. But man, they have nothing to work with here. I know both teams. I think this really kind of comes down to SSG getting one of these Maywalls, right? They've been so good impacting these fights. You get a nice Maywall here right off the rip. Looks like they just caught Son out.
I mean, it just disrupts Virtus.pro. Now Rajara is quite a long way ahead of his back line. That's remediated though with Spacestation sort of give the point up. So can Virtus.pro have a cheap team fight win here? Losing Shockwave, I don't think that's possible. We've got to go for it now. Terra Surge in, so the dash from Sauna as well, trying to follow up, but no blade to work with. Still two supports to cut through. This is ugly. Now Virtus.pro, yeah, they realize they've overextended. Now they're looking sheepish. They don't have the cooldowns to stay in this fight. Sparker has zero pressure on him. Terra Surge now will be impossible to escape for Canale, who actually gets popped up into the roof. And that will be Spacestation, able to snatch away Lijiang Tower, showing us the Malgacop to start with, which was interesting and even won them the round, which to me is what is more surprising, bouncing back after a rough second.
Yeah, really interesting Maga compositions, like something we used to see, a few months ago in the mix there in round number 1, and then towards the end they started to incorporate the Backbone Mei. We were talking about in the last map, joking about how those right clicks, the alternate fires of the Mei, they're so good with it now. Backbone, one of the best, but making great use of those Mei walls, giving them a huge advantage.
Mei, and also obviously a Blizzard there at the start of Control Center, or into the round that catches out the Brig. Multiple times Rajara is also getting picked off by those walls that you mentioned here. So there's that Malgacop. I'm still figuring out why it's supposed to be good. I think Space Station are good, and that's kind of all that matters here. You can see that VP definitely were benefited a bit more by sort of the Ana Brig Diva base meta, or they played Ana Kiriko more than anything. Here, they're still making headway into really grasping this Orisa-based setup here. And obviously with the Juno Brig looks in general. Yeah, nice bounce back. We saw that second round here. I think see Sauna have a pretty strong round. Shockwave obviously in the lineup now for this stage 4 once more is able to have a lot of impact as well. I'm telling you, man, like every time Leonard has rally, there's like a priority target that gets shield bashed. Whether it's like Sauna with the blade or someone else, he's always able to find a huge catch and pick off the back of it.
Yeah, it feels like every single time able to get immense value from not just the rally, but the stuns off of the rally, as we see here. Landon just going to get him back to the rest of the team, landing a big stun. And also with those Mei walls, right, it makes them way easier to land those dynamites. So we take a look at some of the stats here. From the first map, pretty sizable advantage in terms of the damage here for SSG, right? 4K. Only a 2K healing advantage for VP. So, SSG looked pretty calm and in control there in map number 1. Yeah, look,
not the most statistically significant difference. It's basically 2 fights that determine the outcome of that map at the end of it. So, pretty competitive rounds, pretty close ones. Tough one, though, for VP. Not the start they were looking for, of course. We've got our next map around the corner. We're going to go to a break. When we return, it'll be map 2 with SSG and VP fighting for that upper final spot.
I mean, the Mei is a hero that historically, right, Space Station, if they're able to fit it in, has been able to work it in and do it to a high level, if not the highest level, right? So to see this roster incorporate the Mei and then try and capitalize on it, not all too surprising, as it will be Hottie staying in the game, playing the Orisa here, as be a fight over the point to start things off. Yeah, Maywall comes on in, splits out players from Rajaro. They just bully him out.
That line of sight maybe being broken from your backline is what hurts, but Shockwave's still able to pick Landon out of the bunch there. Just with a random grenade of all things. Hardy helping it off in fairness, and Funny Astro is still definitely primed to keep the Orisa in the fight. But it looks as if, Space Station just give up the point to start with now, and Sparker's high ground spot will of course be tested.
Man, that Maywall, getting it split Rajaro off from some of the supports there, I thought for sure SSG was going to come up with a kill onto the tank of VP, but the support, Scala and Canale doing a great job, moving around that corner, keeping Rajaro alive. Certainly would have given the point to SSG if he would have fallen.
Look at how far behind Landon is in ult charge, man, on virtue of just not being a factor in that first engagement. That
really hurt right away.
All right, took a javelin to the knee, but still off to the races we go for SSG. Funny Astro eyes on Hardy now. That ice wall really just buys them the disengage and allows them to get to point, and Sauna gets caught out. That's 2 fights which the May wall I felt has been pretty significant indeed. And despite not having a rally to work with, Landon and Co able to rip the point back.
Yeah, he wouldn't necessarily even say he gets caught out, right? He just tries to step up onto the point to keep it contested, so when that May wall comes down, the rest of VP can kind of fly around that corner and actually get on and fight for it, but gets taken out because everybody on the SSG able to turn and put focus onto the Genji at that moment, knowing that that May wall is still active on the other side.
Deadeye here, blocked by the wall. Mostly, they break their way through it. Landon's shield, though, is able to take that out quite happily. Hardy, of course, has the defensive cooldowns as well. Shockwave's on a wraparound now. Sauna also behind. Both DPS for Virtus.pro have split from the main peloton of their team. And somehow Sauna's caught by that. I'm not sure where he was. He surely going to be head in hand. That was a double support ultimate advantage coming into this fight for Virtus.pro, and they've let it slip. They've got to be kicking themselves losing this flashpoint.
Yeah, I mean, one of the rare times we actually see that, right? As Hardy, Funny Astro land and just move on forward. For a second, I actually thought that Backbone kind of beeped it a little bit there because he actually uses a Maywall to try and lock Canale in, but it actually pushes Canale up out of the Terror Surge of Hardy, but Hardy able to connect with Sauna, who I think is on like the, maybe on the opposite side of the window, like kind of just gets yoinked up on into it. So yeah, on the ledge.
It's just little things here. Sauna. No prior opportunity to make use of the Dragon Blade, and now Canale and Gala are bereft of ultimates too. Awful fight for VP, all things considered. Well, they definitely seem to be struggling here at some crucial moments. The series will get away from them quickly if they don't shape up. Okay, Funny Astro with the orbital ray, in we go. Rajaro has to fortify to try and back away, but he will be pursued as Canale tries to flank him. Get out of there is the plan, and they cannot. Once again, the wall shuts them down. I don't know, man, it's hard to see May being even optional in some of these comps. She is just so good.
I mean, yeah, I mean, the Genji we've seen actually just result in some like massive plays and wins, but the May just feels really safe, right? Especially for a team that knows how to play around the May and has a player like a Backbone, right? Who can play May at such an extremely high level as it'll be VP with another chance here. This is probably their best chance, right? Orbital Ray plus Blade. You also have Terror Surge, Deadeye, so just about everything for VP to work with. They'll back them up to the corner, then use that Orbital Ray.
Blizzarding the Orbital Ray location essentially nullifies that ultimate, Matt. Gala goes down early. Double Terror Surge here as the blade from Sauna is once again drawn. They found Landon, and Backbone doesn't have an ice block to stave that off. Oh man, fortunate for VP. That's another element of the May that we sort of don't talk about, right? Shutting down the ability to move up inside that Ray.
Yeah, so I guess what if you're SSG, you look at it as we do have a pause here. You're trading basically your Terror Surge and Blizzard for Orbital Ray, Terror Surge, and Blade. So not the worst situation there for SSG, as SSG will have actually both support ults for that next fight. So I believe just one of the support ults, I believe maybe it's the rally available there for VP coming on through. So big advantage for SSG coming back into that next fight with about 65%.
And this is honestly like a result of the snowball that we saw at the end of that first point, where there are two support ultimates there for VP. I think they end up using one of them. I don't think Gala even had the chance to orbital ray in that kind of case here. But yeah, we're going to see them walk back in with Bob and both support ultimates. SSG are already 63% to 29, so well and truly ahead. A one fight, it's a one fight right? Flashpoint here, and we might be 2-0 in flashpoints and you know 2-0 in the series pretty quickly here. If again we don't see this VP squad shape up. The May's been very, very good. We talked about it. We harped on it a little bit. But those walls, even if you know they're coming, sometimes are really hard to navigate. Because Orisa will use her defensive cooldowns to get into position sometimes, which is not what you want to do, but you have to on the more open flashpoints. And once the wall comes up and you have to disengage, you're extremely susceptible.
And even maps that you wouldn't have considered the May would be good in the past. We've seen the May being used, right? We've seen it used on Gibraltar even, which is a map that you wouldn't necessarily say May is awesome on, right? So a lot of different maps that May is being used on and different types of comps really around the, Orisa and potentially like Cassidy Ash, right? But a lot of the maps seem to suit pretty well for
So
her
far,
right now.
it's the way that they've been drawn up, and this is a Virtus.pro pick here, so there's nothing that stops, SSG from turning around and then finding a way to make Mei work on a map of their choosing. But even on maps that you don't think Mei looks good on, right? Like Gibraltar, we've still seen SSG bring that in, say, okay, we're going to make this happen here, really shut down Widowmaker in general and be nuisances overall. So, yeah, they're very, very well-rounded. They do have a player that's sort of, quite singularly talented at that particular hero. And remember, this is not an elimination game necessarily, but it would be VP dropping down to that lower bracket. And who have we got waiting there? We've got Piece of Cake is sitting in there, SRP check as well. So those are those two lower bracket, teams that are looking on.
There's some scary opponents down there, right? And especially with nothing locked up for sure. In EMEA, I don't think anybody wants to get in a scenario, especially these teams that expect to be there, where they end up in the loser bracket and have to make a loser bracket run to be able to secure their spot.
Back we come now. SSG at 63%, like we mentioned, having a pretty robust ultimate advantage when it comes to the supports. There's a wall there, Rajaro. Oh yeah, can rotate cooldowns in and still be more aggressive, but it might be a bluff here. The Deadeye from behind, not bad. That was a shield bash from Landon. They are always so good. Shockwave needs to fold away from this. The Bob is a big problem. Rajaro again meets yet another wall that traps him in place. And this is over.
Man. So it's a Mei wall that comes in from Backbone, but it's also the remnants. It's like the last few moments of Landon's rally. So Rajaro gets walled off, then stunned, and then just killed instantly. I mean, there's nothing he can do in that type of situation to stay alive.
There might be a contest here in the late moments of this. Shockwave is still in spawn, so that's probably not great. Deciding whether to play Widowmaker or not. So Rajaro steps up. There should be enough time for Shockwave to get here. Spawn's not too far off. There they are in the distance at the top of your screen. Bagali gets picked up first. Sparker, look at how much space he has. Sorta on the Genji, only just now got into the back line. And they've got no supports left at all for Virtus.pro. We're looking at a 2-0 flashpoint lead for SSG.
Yeah, but even when Sonic gets on the opposite side of the Mei wall, it's like a stun, some damage coming down, right? You can't exactly stay there or even fight or consider fighting like the Brig. And look at this, the next flashpoint.
That's right there.
Directly behind where this one was. So SSG winning that previous fight, going to get it set up perfectly here on this next flashpoint.
Okay, so you notice that SSG want to play off the point here and poke a little bit. They want to get Funny Astro farmed up. So then there won't even be a support all advantage for VP despite what we just saw from SSG. That is so devastating. They've got to go quick. That window's about to shut on them. And yeah, Garland already has ult. He doesn't need this healing. Good dynamites coming in from... Or good pressure rather coming in. Sparker obviously throwing that dynamite to get the burn on about 3 players. 75% of the way towards Bob. Another dynamite hit there. Hardy more than happy to duel. And Shockwave has got a nice little spot here to play from. Very good against the Mei. And the Ice Block will just give Shockwave a different window to play in. It's going to be Backbone eventually falling to the Javelin. Blizzard here that Hardy dances among. No one from VP inside of it now. Orbital Ray did come out. And SSG say, fine. We have 4 ultimates.
Yes, Backbone actually going to go over... Okay, for a second I thought I was going to play Tracer, but just to get a little bit of a faster look out of the spawn and then switch to the Mei where, you trade Blizzard for Orbital Ray. Just kind of Blizzard maybe just keeping you alive, preventing those players from pushing on in. So that's actually an aggressive play past the Mei wall here by the entirety of VP.
They think they had a pick on Backbone, and they might have been right, but the Orbital Ray gets used by Funny Astro to keep the Mei standing. So instead it's going to be Sparker that is lost ultimately. Canale's rally though has now expired. Sola wants to push up, and no one's really paying the Genji any attention. Literally none. Can do whatever he wants as his teammates go to work on SSG.
I mean, I like the decision to get aggressive, go fast straight away. That's actually Spacestation Gaming using both support ultimates on top of each other there, right? So they layer their support ultimates.
And they still lose Sparker.
Have anything here for this fight. I think you almost have to give it up. I just don't even think you're going to get back and get near a touch. It'll be Deadeye here. So yeah, finds land, and this flashpoint's going to be over.
Hoping to get an Orbital Ray there for free. I mean, Garland doesn't even build it up anyway, and the point is lost in the meantime. So 2-1 now. And we're off to our next flashpoint. But SSG is still fighting. Okay, Hyper Ring used and a Mei wall to get the pick on Canale. There might be more where that came from. Sauna will be topped up as the dynamite could have been lethal to him. Away we go to the top of the map here. Looks like Shockwave will be there first.
Yeah, they dip back into the spawn just to get that speed boost, right? So I know, speed boost coming off a spawn here in Flashpoint, and yeah, like you mentioned, dude's gonna have the Blizzard available here to kind of potentially counter this orbital rate, right? It seems that Spacestation wants to use that Mei ultimate, but then now the Bob, right? Can you find an angle for the Bob or the point? That is Landon just getting deleted. That's like some damage there from the orbital ray that comes on down. The Cassidy turns the corner and few shots and you're gone. That's a fast fight win there for VP.
And SSG were looking for a fast reset after that fight. Landon getting picked off very quickly, and they noticed, of course, that there was an orbital ray made use of there by Gala, so you definitely don't feel favored, especially because Backbone did not quite have Blizzard developed to counter it. And also the window was very small in which Landon was eliminated in, as often happens in these very volatile situations in that damage boost of orbital ray. But we're back. We're ready for more. Now there's a Blizzard that is conveniently sized when it comes to the area of this flashpoint. So Backbone here can make it basically impossible to contest with a wall on one side and a Blizzard also used after that. So VP go in, they dive deep. It's going to be Sparky dealing with Sauna now as the orbital ray bathes SSG. That should be more than enough to be winning the fight with.
Yes, Sauna tries to go make a play with the blade after the Maywall ice block is down, and the orbital ray gets dropped there by Spacestation, and Sparker, it's just going to be a headshot. I mean, there's so much healing and damage provided by that orbital ray. It's really, as soon as Sauna's like fully committed, and he's in, he's also committing to death, it feels like.
Still that Blizzard up. Party with a Terror Surge can start a fight, be very disruptive. Shockwave going to have to take a wider angle here, something that he doesn't really feel comfortable doing, given Cassidy's sort of vulnerability when he's on his own. Tough to hit that Juno in the air. Strafing desperately from Funny Astro means that Shockwave cannot draw a bead on him yet. Here's that Terror Surge now. Landon holds the rally. Now pops it. Just wants to stun the Orisa apparently, but needs to whip around. About faced off that Deadeye. Shockwave will be stunned out of it though. Looks like Hardy found him with a Javelin, and here's that orbital ray now coming in. Backbone goes for the Blizzard. Decent timing on that, but can't survive after it. Looks like it was ice block first, popped out, then altered, and he was quite vulnerable.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the Blizzard is really deterred VP all that much here with the orbital rate, right? They've been able to just kind of push on through and still get value out of that ultimate. As Backbone over Tracer tells you they may want to try and contest this. Nope, not able to get there and get a touch. So it'll be SSG and VP going to Flashpoint Point here in map number 2. I feel like this is such a must-win scenario for VP. Find yourself down 2-0 to SSG and have to reverse sweep. Just puts you in such a world of trouble.
VP though feel like they've solidified here, Matt. After a shaky start to Suravasa, and obviously the way that their first map went, I was a little concerned about them. Orbital ray for Funny Astro here. Gala blown up. Rajaro did go for an orbital ray. A Terror Surge. Everyone has orbital rays. Everybody is using them.
Yeah. That'll be good, right? No, as I love how reinforced Jake the other day talking about how orbital ray. It's kind of like remember Reese's ultimate bongo, but just way better. That ultimate proved to be extremely impactful. High win rate fights. This one even stronger. This one even stronger than that.
Let's be honest though, the real culprit was Holt. That thing was messed up. Very powerful displacement ability of the Orisa of old. Sauna with the blade, skirting by the wall, got into the backline, but whip shot away instantly. And now floats on that curved surface, so can't really get back in. And Bob is there with open arms, waiting. Already 52% on this flashpoint for SSG. VP have done so well, demonstrated great tenacity in this map to stay in it. They have at least managed to flip the point. Landon has to be careful. It felt overexposed there. But they should be able to come back in behind this Brig ultimate now, and all of VP been funneled into the tunnel. Yeah, Wall is going to isolate Rajaro. Gala tries to get in and help him with those pulsar torpedoes. The point will be flipped behind this fight though, and now they'll be staggered out. So this is free percentage for SSG.
Bro, that Maywall is so sick because it doesn't just split off Rajaro and Gala. It also kind of denies them anything they would have gotten from the Brig, as the Brig is in rallying there. So Canela using rally, not able to give them anything. As Sauna's still alive here in a 2v1 scenario. Yeah, gonna have some players coming back off of spawn, so maybe you're able to fight this a little bit more competitively is switching to every hero to gain a little bit of extra mobility out of the spawn as he's still coming back on that
1v3 and still killed Hardy. That is impressive. Although eventually he had to give up the point. He got like 49% for Virtus.pro. Respect the Deadeye. Terror Surge almost made that very hard for Spacestation to do, but an orbital ray right on top of Rajaro means there's not much getting out of this. The Blizzard also will confirm the kill on that Orisa, and now at 99% Spacestation. Dance among the frosty fields. Asuravasa is definitely going to be claimed here in this moment. Virtus.pro out of options, out of time, out of players. Nothing to work with, and they'll concede a second map to SSG.
Yeah, and in a battle that's really kind of Genji versus Mei, I think just a little bit more consistent results getting it with the Mei, where Sana doing a really nice job on the Genji, being able, like you mentioned, being able to kind of contest there at the end, getting decent value out of the blade at time, but it's just fight and fight out. It feels like you're getting value out of these Mei walls and capitalizing on them for SSG. Like I mentioned that last one at the end, right? Splitting off the Juno and the Orisa from the break while the rally's going on. You're able to get all the Orisa cooldowns out, you get a kill on the Juno. I mean, just with one ability, right? Being able to split those players off, and Backbone also helps for SSG that they got one of the best Meis.
It's so hard to quantify, I think, the impact of those Mei walls up against so many of these other abilities. But I mean, we can use the eye test pretty comfortably to see just how good it is here. You create a lot of space. These flashpoints obviously aren't that large. You really don't have many options to get away from Blizzard when it comes down. And we did see a couple times, right? There was a Blizzard to answer an orbital ray, but it was kind of ignored. Again, most of the time, it looked like VP just pushed ahead of the Blizzard or were able to play around it. Still get some, healing off that ultimate. Maybe make use of the damage boost to kind of, roll over the top of that Mei very quickly. But Backbone, yeah, real pain. I mean, that wall on this point really felt like it sealed the deal. Time and time again, we saw Virtus.pro attempt to find a way around it, circumvent the wall. But again, they're not playing a diva composition. They're not playing like a Tracer Genji, this kind of setup that can kind of ignore them. They really do need to respect it. And again, in this game, player advantage is massive. If you get the first kill, it's massive. If you can create a local player advantage by just splitting someone off, also makes a big difference. Sana was great on the Genji. I just think like that stall, obviously, not only does he go 1v3, he goes 1v3 while Virtus.pro have control of the point, so gets almost to 50% and gets a kill on the Orisa, buys a lot of time for the reinforcements to come. I felt like there might have been something there, but geez, for a relatively close map, the stats just don't speak favorably to VP at all.
No, I mean, the stats are so heavily in favor of SSG. It's a bit surprising, especially with a game that almost goes to what, the last flash. I mean, that is the last flashpoint, right? I mean, the game that goes that long,
and it was like 150.
Feels crazy that it is that lopsided. I mean, especially looking at just how many deaths, right? I know that's just essentially fight losses for VP. I mean, that's crazy.
So now, of course, we look ahead to the rest of the pool, right? Push is available. That's obviously one game mode, of course. We've already had our Flashpoint games done. We've had our control games done. So both payload game modes are also available here.
So, I mean, if you wanted to just kind of say, like, I mean, you could play Gibraltar, right? Just throw the Orisas out of the mix, play some long-range hit scan, right? They probably still do play Mei, though. I mean, with how we've seen Mei being played by SSG and some other teams, potentially still see them play Mei there. It really kind of depends. What are you worried about here if you're VP? Like, is a Blizzard World potentially in the cards? I mean, that's one that could definitely be a little bit off.
A really good push team in the Ramatra meta as well. Like, could go. I feel like we're not seeing much now that Runasapi's in the pool. Esperanza is just not really the go-to for so many of these teams.
Runasapi seems to be like the overwhelming favorite, right? In terms of push maps, which makes a lot of sense because it is the newest map, right? They've obviously had time now developing push maps, an extended period of time, right? So obviously learning from some of the earlier maps that they had made. So probably everybody feels like this is the best designed map, the most even one. So not a surprise to see
it also probably plays a little bit more favorably in a metagame that doesn't feature a ton of vertical mobility from your tanks. I think in the past we saw a lot of Winston play on Colosseo and even Esperanza to a degree because of those causeways that you know, again, did also put you in positions where you, you know, would push up and play on the enemy team's high ground and basically refuse to give that up for an extended period of time. Whereas Runasapi does have some of those like high ground spots, but they're not really, they're not great. They're not large. You can't fit a whole team up there. You also don't get amazing sight lines from them. We have more of these like little alcoves and side alleys that, you know, work around this open ground that sometimes you can.
That's also scary, though, if you're going against the May, right? You know, SSG, they use the speed, they come right on top of you, they catch you with a wall in an alley, and then you're in trouble. The high ground you're talking about is great for like an Ashe or a Cassidy from that vantage point. The bad part is if you're using that high ground, they are about to get checkpoint. So that is not the spot that you exactly want to be.
Yeah, that might be by design, Matt, if I'm honest with you. Runasapi here, of course, on your screens, and much of that sort of fighting happens opposite of this water wheel at the start of the game. I think May here is still very, very good. Obviously, she doesn't like playing against Farah Ashe compositions, but there are a lot of places, a lot of opportunities to set up those picks, to catch a tank out. And it's the same thing that VP have been, you know, running into, I think, over the entirety of Suravasa as well.
Yeah, if I'm SSG, there's no way I swap off of this May. Until they prove they can, you know, beat it in an entirety of a map, I just stay with it. And look, even if you lose this map, right, you pick something on King's Row and you just do it there, right?
Quite easily. Here we go. May out for SSG. Virtus.pro with that Genji and Cassidy setup. I don't know what you're supposed to do about this, man. I don't know if there's a hard counter to it necessarily. She's just very good. Very robust. Great defensive cooldowns. Utility that other heroes can't even come close to sort of emulating.
I think playing Farah, you definitely could give it a little bit of a harder time, right? Because it puts a little bit more pressure on your hit scan, and also the Farah can just put out so much just overall poke damage. I'm not sure the Genji really threatens the May.
Stave off the Genji pretty easily, I think. Sauna, though, just probably fancies the mobility, being able to put pressure on a Brig if she doesn't have those cooldowns. Up there goes Shockwave, though. Spark is able to find a pick. That is so huge for the Maycom. Now things get ugly, as Rajari doesn't have anywhere to run here, and he knows it.
Yeah, kept alive for a little bit. You saw some of those missiles from the Juno flying over the top of the May wall, but it is just hold M1 there for Backbone on the May. Get a lot of damage, slow some players down, a little bit of progress there for VP, but it's going to be a lead taken by SSG right away.
Singing a song of ice and fire, but not the good kind. Frozen and burning at the same time from Ashe and May.
It's season 8.
Exactly. Oh, that is brutal. So again, great progress already sort of made here, but things get very important now when we start to play off of this corner. Notice Spark is positioning, does not want to play the straightaway, sticking to the high ground. There's no, I mean, I guess Sauna can try and flank or maybe go over the top and dive on that, but look at that ice block immediately from Backbone. He was low. Canal's going to pop the rally. It's going to be an orbital ray in play immediately. Now we have both support ultimates out from VP. Landon studiously holding onto the rally here, looking for the right time to send it, and it might be now. Yep, Hardy was low and is going to get him back into the fight, who now will build a Terror Surge for that extra bit of fortify. The blade, though, from Sauna allows them to bring Landon down here, and in the absence of any picks from SSG, they're going to have to give this up after only 30 or so meters. But Bob's pretty good, I will admit.
Maybe not yet. It's gonna be a Bob here as they end up losing Hardy. Backbone still alive as well, so SSG doesn't exactly want to give up mid-map just yet.
Okay, Gala can out low. Sauna even lower here, but yeah. Spark was hoping for a 1-for-1. He knew Rajaro was eventually going to run him down. Backbone and Landon are both here, so the bot might not be allowed to move too much further into SSG territory.
Yeah, I think Sauna actually gets good value out of the blade there, because if you notice, Landon actually never goes for a dash. I believe he actually probably used it to get in position to save Hardy a little bit earlier.
Sauna really wants this. He gets in, chomping at the bit to be part of the fight. Landon needs the Terror Surge. Most of that damage, he just doesn't have the mobility to get out in the absence of the shield bash. And this is where Sauna thrives. Dash through all these clumped up bodies in that side room, and now VP have the lead.
Yeah, when the Terror Surge can put down some serious AoE damage, right, then you start to get the Genji, dashing on through opponents. That's when you can start to see some really large kill contribution there from the Genji, as Sauna getting close to another blade. So building up that blade extremely fast is Sauna now.
55 plays 34 at a checkpoint to their name. SSG have a tendency of getting blown out on this map sometimes. Happened in Face It Master. it was a full cap to no progress. But that's the nature of the map for you. It happens to the best teams in any region. Okay, so we're going to try and deny the orbital ray here with a Blizzard. It works mostly. You can see Sauna can't really commit into it, but eventually that Blizzard expires. Sauna has to back up though, and I like that. I think that's a great case study on why the Mei is effective against Juno.
Yeah, it was a nice spear as well, connecting with the Deadeye. But yeah, the fact that you can use Blizzard to kind of counter their orbital ray and now hold on to yours, right? That's kind of the massive thing. You're not just answering orbital ray versus orbital ray. Now you can actually come back. This is a huge advantage for Space Station, is they can get closer towards even this one up.
Yeah, and in reality, like you looking at the ultimate setup here, as long as nothing goes wrong with a, Sauna's Blade or a Terror Surge, they should be able to have a checkpoint of their own. But they're going to have to fight twice for it. Here we go, pushing up. Terror Surge now going to be used. This time, Lennon has the shield bash to get him out. And also, a repair pack to keep his backline alive under scrutiny by Sauna. Rajaro did fall. Sparker traded out. I think you take those, especially with Landon's rally in play now. Backbone stunned up briefly there by Canale. He wants to come forward and he's forced the ice block out, but Shockwave is in trouble. Barely extricates himself from that sticky situation, but Hardy comes back for a second pass and eventually brings the Cassidy down.
Yeah, and for SSG, you're going to get Sparker coming off the spawn, ends up using the Bob in the previous fight, then ends up dying, so you're going to get back your ash as you make your way around this corner, but support ultimates galore that previous fight. Nice dynamite on top of that Terror Surge.
Checkpoint getting ever closer now. Rajaro briefly interrupted there by a Javelin. They've got to come forward and contest. They can't sit back on this high ground. They've got a Blizzard now to answer this yet again. Backbone has to ice block it pretty quickly. But who can stand with the orbital ray? Hardly anyone. Canale eventually gets there, and Backbone doesn't have the block right now. Hardy does his darndest to keep him alive with a Javelin spin. But Space Station will be stopped here.
Yeah, I mean, still, even with that Blizzard thrown in, Orbital Ray just too strong. It deters them for a brief moment, but after that, it's just the all-out push there from Virtus.pro. So, gonna get below about 4 minutes on the clock here when this next fight kicks off. There'll be SSG with an opportunity to use their Orbital Ray to come on in, but maybe you can get a pick early here. Maybe you can get Sparker to manufacture one from the high ground.
Playing this corner now. Rajaro doesn't want to overexpose himself, not with a main wall behind him especially, and SSG can't quite dig him out. He comes forward now. Orbital Raid though for Space Station against the rally of Canale. Nice dynamite. Rajaro's just, unfortunately, it's just too much damage for him to deal with. This will be a Space Station run over here with a rally for the next fight. Handy, given that Sauna's just developed a blade.
Well, the issue with SSG hasn't been winning these early fights, right? It's like winning 2 in a row, right? That's been their kind of main issue. Very close to taking the lead. Probably just need another fight to do it. It's just been winning those back-to-back fights that they've really struggled to do.
I want to see where Sparker ends up playing here. He cannot afford to go out to that left side. Bot now wants to get moving. Can see it. Sparker has got to respect this. Is there going to be a stun? No. Sort of knows there's a rally in place, so it just goes over the top of it instead. Orbital Ray so far back for VP, but yeah, around that, they're just able to coalesce. And Sparker fell to Rajaro in the front line. And they're ready for Landon. It's really hard to see where that is a difference maker.
Yeah, it's really interesting having to take that route there with the blade there for Sauna, right? Goes up, gets coach gunned, sees the rally down below the Bob. He actually kind of doubles back to the rest of his team into that orbital ray. Just takes out deals with the Bob there. Then dashes back in, see if he can get another kill when the Terror Surge from Rajaro comes out. But really interesting sequence, and that's why I talked about Space Station. You win one fight, you lose one fight. Now they come back with an advantage.
All again. We've seen this before.
Probably end up winning this one. Yeah.
They can't really run Rajaro over this time. The Deadeye is going to dissuade them from coming forward at all, I'd say. So gets in the position now, lets them fan out here to this wider area. Wall means Canale can't play up alongside Rajaro right now, and Hardy looks like he wanted to come forward and catch some people in that Terror Surge. Little dangerous, but Shockwave playing close enough away from the edge that he isn't knocked over it. Backbone though, can't say the same for him. He got absolutely gooned.
Yeah, I mean, the support's doing a tremendous job there for VP, being able to keep Shockwave alive, right? Canale and Gala both playing on that outskirts area, and this is going to be even more progress for Virtus.pro. So, falling just short on Flashpoint in the final moments, looking really good here on Runasabi.
Triple digits now, rearing its head. Spacestation have not been able to win more than one fight consecutively. And in fairness, Virtus.pro only had to do that once. That's where this lead has come from. Since then, it's just been pushing back to neutral, try and take a win. Oh, nice shot from Sparker. Okay, not bad. Ghana had already dispensed with that orbital ray, but it doesn't look like that's made much of a difference. Maybe the Blizzard again being a good counter. 1 minute here.
Well, it's Astro having to use his orbital ray as well, right? So it's not exactly like Spacestation gives himself an advantage here, down 40 plus meters. Especially Sauna will end up kind of getting this blade here. You see you have Terror Surge plus blade in rally. Fantastic combination for VP to work with really just one more fight for them to close this map out.
95 accounting on that Sparker Bob. Oh, gotta be careful. Luckily, he was knocked inside that room
Big
by the
stun.
javelin. Otherwise, he probably would have died there. Shield bash across for Lennon. Bear in mind, he does not have that available now in case there's that Terror Surge from Rojaro. The Brig will be locked in. Look how they slowly push up behind this Deadeye. The Bob that makes it a little more complex. And here's the Terror Surge now. Landon able to stay clear of it because he knows he's close to a rally. It's all about staying alive for the Brig players right now. And a blade for Sauna. Landon has to ult now. He does get the stun, but Sauna still has some blade time to work with. And Landon ends up getting brought down. There's just not enough time for Spacestation to make their way across the map. Virtus.pro able to win consecutive fights on 2 separate occasions. Spacestation never able to match that feat. And that's why Runasapi ends up getting taken away from them. A bit of a bogey map, I think, for SSG. They're going to give that one up and give VP a foothold in this series.
Yeah, but I mean, look, Flashpoint, I mean, all 3 maps have been really close, right? It's just that SSG is clutched up in the end of our first 2, so VP bounces back in a big way here on Runasapi. I think the Genji's starting to look much better. I think the only thing you worry about now is you're giving map picks here to SSG where they can take you exactly where they want and, you know, obviously try and keep using this comp they seem to be favoring.
Yeah, is it really
today.
a question of, like, where the May is best? Do you think that's going to sort of inform their decision-making?
I mean, I would be surprised if it doesn't, right? I know with how much they've committed to it this far, if they're not going to commit to the May and run it here at the end, it would seem a bit odd
this
to
has
me.
to say. We're going to head over to them now as we are 2-1 in the series with SSG leading, but having just dropped that Runasapi map to let VP back into the series.
That's right. Thank you so much. Zoe here, joined by Jake and Johnny, and we're going to guide you through what we just saw on map 3. VP keeping themselves alive in this series and this best of, or first to 3 rather. Of course, the loser is not out. They will be dropping into the lower brackets to face off against SR Peak Check. That's where they can really show that they truly know how to handle EU Overwatch. But for now, we're still in the upper bracket. Let's talk about this. We've seen a clear identity so far in this main event from SSG, and that's revolving around that May. If they slot in KSA like yesterday, or today showing more Hardy-centric compositions, the May is there, and she seems to stay.
Yeah, it's really been the go-to for SSG playing this May. I think in a lot of different regions, particularly in Korea, we've seen them flex over to Genji more. Specifically Runasapi, you know, it's a great map for the Genji to brawl in the Ray, for example, here. But when it comes to SSG, it is interesting to see them stick with the backbone May as much as they really do, considering also they have, you know, Psycho waiting in the wings if they want to bring him out. But this seems to be the strat going into the main event, and it worked flawlessly, honestly, up until here on Runasapi, which, you know, it is a really good map for Genji here, Jake. So I'm curious what you kind of think there, like, where do you kind of go here now to, like, throw maybe VP off their game? You got 2 map picks if you're SSG to really close out the series. So I'm kind of curious, like, where they go from here to maybe, like, put Sauna in an uncomfortable position and maybe make more use of the main.
Yeah, I think they have a couple good options, but honestly, I mean, even they played May on Gibraltar, right? It is like wild strat playing it on Gibraltar against Twisted Minds, still feeling confident in it there. So I think there's an option for them to just, I don't know how much it matters. Like, I'm thinking about conventionally good May maps, but I'm wondering how much does SSG care about that? Yeah. I think they're wanting these sort of awkward matchups. They feel good about them and maybe puts the opponent on the back foot. I do agree, though, Runasapi is just a great Genji map, not a very good May map. I think that might be the kind of bit of daylight between these two teams. But in the end, I think this is going to be way more about execution than map pick. It's going to be all about who can force their will on the match and who can execute better in the rush. And I think SSG just are really comfortable playing around the Mei. Like whether it's the wall utility or stalling out long fights, you know, playing around Mei ults, grinding out some of these close range engagements. I think that's their style. And it's, for me, it's more about that than it's about map pick necessarily, because they kind of play the Mei even where it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
I mean, I was about to say, historically, SSG has been the team to just shoehorn their will onto whatever the meta might be, onto whatever the map might be. It doesn't really matter to them. They just want to play their own style, and they've done so to great success. VP, though, they're clawing themselves back into this series. What do you want to see them doing in order to deal with the Mei? Do you think it's the Mei that actually is posing the problem?
Well, it's quite clear they're not bringing out the Ilari. So, you know, my hopes are dashed. KSA is going to come in, though, for that Diva. So that is going to be interesting. See how they utilize KSA in that role. I've just found out the map pick. So I guess we can go ahead and unveil it if we would like. And try to break it down. But you're right, Jake. It's Gibraltar indeed.
I mean, it's a weird map pick. Honestly, I don't think their strat of like holding the bunker room is good at all. I feel like it should be so punishable, but it worked. They did beat Twisted Minds with it. Is this hubris, though? If anything, to me, if they keep playing this Mei bunkering strat, I just don't believe in it. I think like the top teams in the world will punish you, kind of what we saw from ENCE in that last series on Gibraltar. Like,
if they make it work, though, are you going to be a convert?
I'll be a believer when they beat ENCE on Gibraltar playing Mei. That's what it'll seem
to be.
That's the line. Okay, fair. Any last thoughts for this match?
Sauna. Maybe time
That's
to
a good
pop off
thought.
the tracer.
All right. There you have it. Sauna, pop off on the tracer, easy as that. As he logs Genji. So yeah, that's going to be more difficult to do. Either way, Virtus.pro, of course, they have to bring this back and tie up the series. Otherwise, they will be falling down to the lower bracket. Can Spacestation close it out right here on Gibraltar? Their map pick, we'll find out in just a second. Mitch, Matt, take it away.
You feel like you can kind of understand Jake's skepticism about Space Station's approach here on Gibraltar, Matt. We have to see if it's going to work on teams like Virtus.pro.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking a little bit about it even before break, right? You know, they do play the Mei on maps that you wouldn't historically say are great Mei maps, and this is definitely one of them, right? Gibraltar, they will be on attack to kick things off. VP on defense. They'll actually take a really close setup. So this is something we haven't seen teams do in a while here.
Sparker very quickly going to be moving off that Hanzo instead on the Cassidy. So Cassidy Mei. KSA does not want to fully commit, of course, to the setup, but God, Canale is so low. KSA almost feels like that one just offered itself up to him. And now he can get healed from a very safe location. Suffice to say, this close-up spawn hold for Virtus.pro has been mostly broken. Now with Pajaro falling, it's definitely capitulated.
Yeah, as now you're actually getting car progress here, and you're going to get some staggers here as well. So Sparker will clean up the rest of the VP. So VP, they try that close hold. KSA just blows up Canale, right? Canale playing up there on the high ground with Shockwave, but Gala not in line of sight to give him any type of healing, and the Diva just so good in those 1v1 brawl type of scenarios.
And of course, this is now where SSG can fall back into the server room here, try and play around some of that Mei utility. Sparker, though, was out in front a little bit, looking for early poke damage. It looks like he does get accosted very quickly. KSA, no chance to get back into the mech, and even use the self-destruct for the refresh, so that will hurt SSG, and that is a bit of a momentum killer.
Yeah, as Backbone has already used Ice Block, so he will fall here shortly, and yeah, that stops any of the type of progress, right, that SSG was going to make. And that's how, look, if you're the Cassidy and you don't actually hit that hinder on the Genji, and the dash comes on through, obviously with some extra team fire as well, you're going to fall rather quickly. So Sparker ends up dying at the hands of Sauna there, as high ground control wants to be fought over here by VP.
Yeah, Jake wants to see this map work against ENCE. I'd settle for seeing it work against VP at this stage. But so far, it's KSA just trying to draw some players back over towards the card, and Sauna will happily oblige. Now this puts the Diva in a bit of an odd spot, and I don't see KSA getting out of this unscathed. It's going to be a little dicey.
Yeah, well, I think what Jake is talking about as well, is we'll see it on defense, is they like to kind of hold with that Mei down here in the tunnel. They like to do it in the server room as well. Here on offense, you see it's just proven to be a little bit difficult getting control of some of that high ground, right? If you don't exactly have to fight over the point, you're in a good spot. That'll be the Terror Surge there, just yoinks everybody into
Sometimes
display.
4 ultimates is called for. Fair enough. The orbital ray for Spacestation got used there. Okay. Backbone.
I mean, it's got to be a switch. I mean, there's no way you're just gonna chuck that in there, so it's got to be a switch here potentially here for Space Station is Backbone. Looks like the Sim would be the answer here. So okay, so they're gonna go back to the Mauga with the Sims. This is Li Shang Tower, right?
Yeah, same comp we saw there. One that should get good cardiac overdrive value and also come from odd angles, but still pretty bad against high ground control. Somehow they're spared the scrutiny, I think, for Shockwave for now, but eventually, yeah, they're going to get it. Can they hold up against this? Healing is good until that overdrive expires into the teleporter. They try and go. KSA, he TP's back, charges in, TP's back again. I like that. Now they force Virtus.pro to fight them here on this stairwell, which might be where they're more comfortable. KSA is nigh unkillable there with that overdrive ticking. And Rajaro can't really do much to garner the attention of the Mauga. Space Station now with that numbers advantage. Backbone starting to laser Rajaro down, but doesn't have much protection there. But he's getting the Juno healing from on high, and that seems to be enough. Checkpoint conceded now as the Mauga cop will roll on.
I was going to say the health bars, though, for SSG were quite low for a while there. It's just VP was not able to capitalize on it. And some nifty work there with the TP from Backbone. We see when Rajaro is inside that second, he's spear spinning, displacement everywhere. It just doesn't really matter when the Mog is in there using that cardiac
if there's
overdrive.
any hero that benefits from gaining healing as a proportion of their damage dealt, it's probably Symmetra. Front and center fights against defenders until you add Symmetra into the mix, and all of a sudden you don't have a choice. You need to stand your ground against this Mauga. Look, Juno's been left behind here, and Sauna knows full well where to find them.
Yeah, he's just dicing up on the high ground here, regardless of what SSG is doing up on the opposite side, right? So everybody gets split off there, not able to get with the rest of the team. Is KSA going to actually make it out with his life here? So going to provide some decent healing to whether it be, it looks like Bunny Asher just taking it just to obviously keep him alive, but ideally would give it the land and to build up towards that rally. But a lot of ultimates here for SSG available to use, right? The Sim wall probably not as powerful here. You know, it is still really impactful all the time, but we'll see. This is just going to kind of get them around that corner.
Okay, this makes it very awkward to play the high ground for VP.
Yeah.
Very nicely placed.
I mean, you actually get a lot of value out of it just getting card progress,
Yeah, getting forward, I think of this, you still eventually have to stand and fight, but Funny Astro will allow that with the orbital ray. Rajaro drops in, tries to go for a flourish, a javelin spin, but Sparker has a beautiful off angle now, as long as he can see his target. Hitting them seems to be like less of a concern. Sauna though, yeah, he's able to avoid a couple of those shots. A headshot on the Genji there might have changed the game, but Sauna runs into Funny Astro.
Yeah. So they outlast it, but when they have orbital ray going and cardiac overdrive, everybody's at 100% HP the entire time. I mean, there's no way you can actually, like, it looks almost impossible to kill SSG. It's just, I know having that extra rally in the mix for VP on top of their own orbital ray just gives them the sustain to live on through it. But that is a nasty combination.
We knew that the real thing to enable this Space Code's composition was just the Mauga to make them absolutely unkillable. Still, though, it looks like it's got some very obvious weaknesses that Virtus.pro have been able to exploit. The fact that that cooldown for cardiac overdrive is only, or rather the ability only lasts for so long. Where do they go, says Sauna. Quick TP down to the low ground now. There's still the issue of the card. That needs to be moved up, and that's probably why this comp is not favored here, because they can't always decide where they fight. Sauna, though, having trouble finding the kill here on Backbone. Eventually Shockwave fell, so Spark is able to even up the numbers here, but is very isolated and is likely to be dragged down too.
Yeah, this looks like it's going to be a defensive hold here from VP, as I know some interesting comms come out from SSG, right? Early on, it was like diva-based stuff with the Mei in the mix. I think the real big telling thing will be how do they go about now, they being VP, breaking the kind of bunker style that SSG's probably going to play on defense here with that man.
Yeah, I'm putting SSG on Sassy Watch after that round. The May, we sort of...
Oh, okay, you never want to be on Sussy Watch, I assume, right?
Look it up, it's a custom game mode in-game, I guarantee you.
Why does that happen?
So because, first of all, we were already quizzical about the May comps. We saw them earlier. It did work out, but against, like, arguably weaker competition, and you could see how Virtus.pro are able to sort of pick apart that setup by, I don't know, standing on a position that is higher above sea level than their opponents and exploiting that fact. And then we see the switch over to the Mauga comp, which looked fairly good against even Virtus.pro on Lijiang Tower, but you don't have to play on Lijiang from these oppressive like angles trying to push the cart through the shuttle phase. So neither of those comps looked really compelling against a very standard look from VP.
Right. Yeah, so look at this. So Spacestation actually, they're not going to play the May here on defense. It looks like they're actually just going to start things off with a Reaper-based setup. So
yeah, okay.
But we haven't seen though. Like, what are your thoughts on Reaper versus Diva?
I mean, I suppose it's fine. I don't really. I feel like Backbone is hugely advantaged in that sort of matchup. Like Diva can avoid and just space out from the Reaper. Maybe SSG are just hoping that VP try and push into them. Like if the Reaper plays forward on the bridge here, or just on the other side of the doorway, like where he is right now, you can just take him by surprise and like blow up an individual hero. But when you TP across like this, you see the Reaper a mile off.
Now we'll see if they decide to play low ground here, SSG. I mean, Reaper's another tough character to kind of push on into, right? Where Backbone gets right up in Rajaro's face, puts down some damage.
Well, I think that's half the issue now. VP with an Orisa comp have to take this room. They have to push in here. So eventually they get a Wraith walk out of Backbone at least. That allows Rajaro to move up. No May, so Rajaro doesn't need to worry about getting picked on their own. So it's very slow, ponderous progress here for Virtus.pro, but they do have this room controlled. It's really pushing out into the high ground that they need to do, and hey, Orisa's cooldowns are very good for that.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing that now, right? They get the speed ring out, and then they just kind of all flood around that corner as trying to connect with a hindrance there onto Backbone. Does not connect as he's going to make his way back into the server.
Sort of, they're just not able to get to safety with the rest of Virtus.pro here. So far, not so bad for this Space Station setup. Again, Backbone really just sort of getting in, getting out, maybe forcing a defensive cooldown or two. Being a little bit of a nuisance. That card, though, getting it out of the underpass seems pretty scary against the Reaper, who can effortlessly drop in behind you. And Virtus.pro don't have a Tracer to, like, safely contest this. They need to have, like, some commitment to the low ground in order to make progress.
Oh, they're not actually able to keep Backbone alive. That's an orbital ray there used by both teams. But I think they're using trying to keep Backbone up. This is an opportunity here for VP. Is everybody going to be falling here for SSG?
Well, it wouldn't be an SSG VP game in the upper bracket if it didn't go to a decided map. So I'm here for that. But this Reaper setup for Space Station doesn't quite get them there now. However, it's still valid on the shuttle phase too. You could drop in from so many of these different avenues. If you can force like a Fortify out of an Orisa earlier than she otherwise would like to use it, I think that's like a ton of value to be gained there. But Deadeye will clear Space Station away, which means they can't play up close to the Reaper or the Diva.
Yeah, Rajaro gonna have to use that's actually KSA using a self-destruct there, gets demeched, but Sparker able to take out two. So KSA will get back in the mech, so SSG push out into the spawn area, right? I know the ship has not made it on through, so the door's not closed just yet. As looks like it's gonna be VP trying to take high ground here. Sauna just on the cart, trying to get it through this doorway. Will be able to do so.
DM there from KSA, just making sure Backbone can TP safely away. Wanted to contest the car, but it's not a safe spot to be for anyone. Lendenbach has to rally there, maybe feels pressured too heavily by Virtus.pro. They're not disengaging away from this though, but look how split SSG are. They can't all benefit from the rally presently. KSA now can contest that card though, especially with Rajaro stuck on the high ground.
Yeah, it only felt like even Sparker benefited from the rally, as you see where the team of SSG's playing, right? KSA able to go on both sides here. Hindrance as soon as Backbone gets on in. Orbital Ray as well. He's deleted.
I'm just not sold on the Reaper guy. I don't know if you can ever get me on board with that there.
Well, so we saw Reaper earlier, right? And it was pretty good when there was a Winston on the other side. I'm I'm not exactly sold on it here.
That TP across is highly telegraphed from the Reaper. Spacestation, one more chance here. Still almost 3 minutes on the clock for Virtus.pro, and Shockwave again just sets up a defensive zone here. Wants to push up now. Good damage. Backbone again can drop in from here. That's not the issue. Coming in from the top rope is definitely always Reaper's forte. Death Blossom. It's about time for that. Blade as well for Sauna coming on in. Maybe he can shut this down. Yep, couple deflects there. Mitigate some of that damage. But yeah, the DM. Crucial. And Sauna picked off by KSA. Just an incredible D.Va player. Will force Virtus.pro to figure this out once more.
Yeah, really nice use of the defense matrix there from KSA, but to keep Backbone alive through all that, because he is obviously the focal point when he jumps down. He starts to use that Death Blossom, so that defense matrix use definitely keeps Backbone alive, keeps Space Station in it now as so we're getting below 2 minutes to go. This is a bit of a junk fight, right? VP doesn't have anything to work with here.
KSA, though, that DM's been exhausted. Self-destruct here? Actually not bad. Oh, you get Shockwave for your trouble. That's big. Now 2 minutes left in the round. Space Station able to fold back to the shuttle and keep inserting Backbone here from the side. He'll eventually pull out, but it buys more time even further. This is doable. Despite the carp being very close, this is absolutely on the table for SSG.
And even more importantly, they, KSA is able to get back into mech, right? Uses the self-destruct in there and able to re-mech, so that is huge. Typically, we see the follow-up come through and not able to get a mech back, but KSA able to stay with the mech as see TP in there for Backbone. Wraith forms right away. Doesn't want to get hit with that hinder.
Either could be very scary. VP don't have great ways to block line of sight with shield. That's why also they're so susceptible to self-destruct. Backbone, they're going to dance amongst the Terror Surge. Brajaro's going to be forced back here. Virtus.pro still want to come forward now with the orbital ray in play for Funny Astro. Gallus has expired now. It looks like Virtus.pro are running out of legs. They're trying to disengage quickly, but they won't be allowed to. Fortify already used for Rajaro, which means they can chase this to a degree. But good discipline. SSG, don't overextend.
Yeah, the advantage here, though, will be for VP with that rally, right? So Space Station, because the orbital array is putting down so much damage, they don't have, like, that blizzard anymore. To keep them safe, they end up popping the rally there and then following up with their orbital array to win that fight. But still, they give themselves a chance here. 30 seconds on the clock to hold VP.
In hand for Baki B. Can obviously still drop down, but doesn't want to be stunned up by Canale's rally. That would be the issue. Down to the high ground. VP trying to bully their way up here. Canale, rally. They're going to go forward now. They might have caught Land, and he's very, very low, trying to get away desperately. But the Death Blossom from Backbone might have bailed them out here. Rajaro's too far away from the card. It's Sauna's Blade. Can it bail them out? Good 2 slashes on Funny Astro, but it's going to take more, and that's 2 kills for Backbone in this fight. The Reaper guy, once again showing us why he's one of the best characters in the game. And Sauna just has to avoid him. The Hellfire shotguns have been thrust into the spokes of the VP bicycle. And now Rajaro is going to fall here, almost certainly. Funny Astro with that orbital ray. And overtime is ticking down. Space Station hold the card right here for about 3 minutes to take the series.
Yeah, we were skeptical on the Reaper, right? It didn't look that great in point number 1, but they started to get rolling control of the high ground there on the second point of Gibraltar. As it is, look, they're playing some comps that we don't see from a lot of other people. We're seeing some Maga play here from SSG, a lot of May, Reaper setup. So it's very difficult, seems like, for other teams to play against him. But I mean, dude, when you have a player like Backbone who could play all these different characters that are such a nuisance at like a high level, you equip him to kind of play at his best in the moments like this, right? I know a fantastic series from Backbone all throughout.
Right? Venture, May, Reaper. A character that is, often like pretty cannibal, pretty susceptible to, like disengage, or you can see him coming. It's very clear when he's teleporting in your direction. He saves the day with a huge Death Blossom that cannot be saved by the rally on the side of VP. Great game, great ending, SSG. I don't know if they're off the hook, though, for that Gibraltar Cup. I want to hear what Jake and the crew have to say. We're going to head over to the desk and hear from them now.
Yeah, thank you so much. Jake is still not a believer, I presume.
All right, I will say I'm a believer in SSG. I think they're a very strong team.
That was
I'm
not my question.
shocked that they got the win, but yeah, the strat, I'm still a little skeptical, right? Getting full held at the second point in the middle there, and that's a pretty rough spot to be in. For them to clutch up on defense is huge, but it took some clutch moments, right? If you don't find that Juno pick on the rally turn, I think you probably do lose there and we go game 5. So
That's what you gotta trust in Backbone to find the flanking
right.
Reaper picks.
Yeah,
Onto the
or you
Juno.
don't have to pick Gibraltar. Like you could do it on King's Row or something. I'd feel a lot better about it. But
Right,
I enjoyed it. They pull out the Mauga on Gibraltar attack. I'm here for it.
don't get me wrong.
I mean,
like
they
this.
rocked up like that already map 1. They set the energy high, right? Maga straight out of the gate. It's like, oh, okay, SSG, I see you.
Yeah, and it's something we actually saw Crazy Raccoon pull out in OWCS Korea.
Yeah.
Over in Asia. OWCS Asia is the Asia main event. But it was largely over in that region also as well. You know, an Orisa kind of mirror. But then on the first point of New Junk City, Crazy Raccoon, they came out with this Symmetra and Mauga composition, and it provides you a really strong 3-second power spike, like Mitch referenced, where you get a fully charged Symmetra beaming an Orisa. You got the Mauga cardiac overdrive to provide that lifesteal as well. It's a really powerful window and can be quite powerful against this Orisa composition. It's just a bit harder to pull off on Gibraltar second compared to New Junk City first. So they are cooking with that one. But it's an interesting composition that I actually do think we'll see more of as the weekend progresses, probably just from SSG, but nevertheless, it is a look. And then the Reaper as well. I mean, they were cooking. Virtus.pro, they have to expend abilities to put some point pressure or to advance on the second point of Gibraltar. And then when, Orisa's committed a spear spin, committed a fortify, that's when you can kind of sync up with the Diva and dive. So it was decently executed, must say. They got the map win, so credit to them.
He was doing good on the Reaper, doing some work, but also had some tough fights as well. I mean, VP didn't make this easy for them. They fought back well. I think it was just a couple mistakes here and there, punished well by SSG. But KSA comes in potentially in a tough scenario, but hey, he still looked really solid. This Reaper, this pickoff, right? I feel like genuinely, if it's anyone but the Juno, you're in big trouble this fight. Even a pick on a DPS maybe wouldn't have been enough. But Backbone finds exactly what he needs in that spot.
Yeah.
He threaded the needle, Backbone.
He's
through between all the
There was such a
javelins.
precise Reaper ult. It was just perfectly placed.
Crazy.
The execution on him pressing the Reaper special skill was very impressive. But the Mei, to be honest, I think Backbone is one of the best Meis in the region. I think that's easy to say. And his experience on this hero, I'd say so, yeah.
Only.
I mean, to be honest, EU probably plays more Mei than anyone else. I think if you're one of the best Meis in the EU, you are also one of the best in the world, to be honest.
Yeah.
But so Backbone's experience there. I mean, I don't think most teams would be forcing Mei. Most teams are not playing Mei. Except SSG's winning all their games with this strat. I think a lot of that comes from the confidence in the player-hero combo. There's a lot of options on Flex DPS. Genji, Pharah, Echo. We've seen Venture. You have a lot of choices as a coach, but the confidence to keep playing this Mei, even in maps that it's not super popular, is confidence in Backbone. You don't do that if you don't have a player you think can really handle potentially a tougher scenario.
And they still have Psycho on the bench as well, right? So they do have the abilities to switch it up and show more versatility. But for now, why change a working system? Now, if we're looking at VP's side, they're dropping down to the lower bracket. And I feel a little sorry for them because you go up against SSG, not the most conventional team, and then the next opponent you're facing is SRP Czech, where you know exactly, okay, this is also not going to be a meta kind of matchup that you have to face off against. So VP, they have to do a lot of prepping, a lot of extra scrimming, I guess, to get ready for their next one. For now, though, we're heading into a winner's interview, and of course, we have the man of the hour joining us for this one. It's Backbone. How you doing, Backbone? Congratulations on the dub.
I'm doing good, thank you.
Let's obviously start off with the most obvious question here. You guys are relying heavily on the Mei. How do you feel Mei is fitting into the current meta, and why do you think we see so little of her from basically any other team?
I think the Mei is really, really good. I think also I'm not one of the best Meis, Jake, for the record. I am the best Mei.
All right.
There we go.
All right. That's what I like to hear.
That's right.
Chills.
Respect. Respect.
Chills
Aura.
right there.
Aura.
I mean, I don't know what else I can do to prove it at this point.
It's you and Kester for me.
The Mei... Okay.
He's our guest on the show.
That's why you gotta beat Eds. You gotta take Kester down. Then I'll accept it.
I think the Mei lets you lean into a different style of play than the Genji does, which I think we prefer to go for as well. I'm honestly surprised more teams aren't trying it because I think it's pretty good. We have a really good success rate with it. I mean, as you can see.
All right, moving on to the next hero then, Gibraltar. It was really fun to see the Mauga Symmetra come out, so credit to that. But I think the big pick was the Reaper that also came out. And you obviously made it work. Sick Death Blossom to catch the Juno in there. But I guess just explain a little bit, like, what's the game plan? When you pull out the Reaper, what are you looking to achieve in the fights as Reaper? Like, who is your target? When are you looking to engage, perhaps recognizing that the Virtus.pro, they're playing this Orisa, Genji kind of composition? What are you looking to do in those fights, and how do you what's your game plan like going into those individual fights on Gibraltar as Reaper?
I think Reaper is the most overtuned DPS in the game right now. I think he's ridiculously strong and would get played every map if it wasn't for like certain other heroes also being strong right now. I think he's just way too good. You can actually do anything you want on him. So some maps and matchups you can just shoot tank and be completely fine. Some others, like you just saw, I can just play to kill backline when it's on and it's really fine. Like the hero is just so strong right now.
I'm just curious, you guys, I don't know if you've mathematically secured anything yet, but I think it's fair to say that pretty much everyone thinks that you'll be one of the teams going to Stockholm, competing in front of the I guess, hometown crowd for EU at least. How are you feeling about the potential to go and play in front of fans again, to play on a LAN stage with SSG?
I'm really excited for it. The LAN's always great. Me and the fans are always great. Like, playing with a crowd is so much more enjoyable. Like when you hear the crowd react to things you're doing and stuff, it's like really it's just fun. I think we are technically, like, mathematically in now. I think it's literally impossible we're not, but I mean we're always going to make it anyway. We're just going to win and get in no matter what.
Yeah.
Either way, SSG will be there, right?
Yeah.
That's right. That's the spirit. Well, then I think that's it for us. From us, no more questions for now. I do, just for the record, I do think that you're the best Mei in the world.
I'm just thinking of. I remember there was a clip of you putting in work on Kevster in the Mei mirror, the left-right 2 taps, and I'm going to withdraw that. I'm going to withdraw it.
Let's Zoe speak. Let's Zoe talk, Jake.
We'll put him in his place. Don't worry about it, Backbone. Thank you so much for joining us, and best of luck in your next match.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Backbone.